Hey everyone, I'm Katie, and I'm an analytics consultant here at InterWorks. And we want to talk about one of the trickier things with Tableau, especially for beginners. We're looking at our date fields and the way that Tableau treats your date fields in your data. You might remember that Tableau has a continuous or a discrete selection for each of the fields that we work with. Now, a continuous field is going to be green, and it's going to give us an axis if it's placed on the rows or column shelf, whereas a discrete field is going to be blue, and that gives us a header or a label when we place it on rows or columns. And the reason that this is important is because Tableau can treat our date fields as either discrete or continuous. We want to use a continuous date value when we're interested in showing information over time. In this example, we're interested in finding out the gross domestic product of our Asia area and how this has changed over time. So we can see that the GDP in Asia is increasing across all of our years. Notice that the year field on the column shelf is represented as a green continuous field, giving us an axis across the bottom. Let's take a look at Superstore and see how we would show the monthly sales information over time. If we're going to show the monthly sales information, we have to start off with our sales value on rows. Then we want to bring our order date over to columns. And something that we should notice is that instead of giving us the actual date of purchase, Tableau says here are all of the purchases that happened in 2011. It starts us out at the yearly level, this discrete date part. But I wanted the monthly information. So we can choose the drop-down arrow on our order date field in the column shelf to select month. But we run into a problem. There's 2 copies of month, so which do we choose? The first copy of month is going to be your discrete date part, and the indicator that Tableau provides is the word May. Just one individual month. In the second copy of month, we have May 2015. This is a continuous date value. It's a unique combination of the month and the year. And in most of our scenarios where we're showing information over time, we're showing those continuous date values. So I'm going to choose the second copy of month. When we change this to a continuous date value, you can see that now we're seeing sales values increase over time with some variability from month to month. So this continuous date value is every unique combination of month and year. Tableau is great because it automatically changes the field from discrete to continuous. I didn't have to take any other steps. So that might lead us to the question, well, which month has the largest amount of sales? Which month has the lowest amount of sales? What should we prepare for in the coming year? If we're interested in seeing these sales as a representation of January through December, then what we're looking for is our discrete date part. We want to look at our sales information in discrete monthly buckets. To start off, we'll take our sales value over to the rows shelf, and we'll take our order date field and place it on the column shelf. We can see that we do get discrete separate labels, but it's showing them at the yearly level, whereas we wanted to see them at the monthly level. So we'll choose the drop-down arrow on our order date field and select the first copy of month, our discrete date part. Taking a look at this information, we can see that the sales amounts are normally lower in the beginning of the year, whereas they're much, much larger at the end of the year around the November holiday season. But what if we wanted to compare those different months side by side? What if I was interested in figuring out which months had the highest amount of sales? Maybe it would be easier to see these as a bar chart. I can change this visualization into a bar chart by using the drop-down arrow in the marks card and selecting the bar mark type. It makes it super easy for us to see that September, November, and December are our higher selling months overall, whereas February has a relatively low amount of sales compared to our other months. But this is taking into consideration any purchase that has happened in February across all of our years. Earlier in this lesson, we changed our continuous and discrete fields, but what we really need to keep in mind is that we're looking at our continuous date values and our discrete date parts. A date part is going to be the individual components of a date, whether that's the year or the month or the day. Whereas our date values are going to be the specific level of detail that we're looking at with our date field. So for instance, if I choose a continuous day, it's going to be that day within a month, within a year. But if I choose a discrete date part, that's going to give me days 1 through 31, no matter which month, no matter which year. By default, Tableau is going to give us our discrete date part at the highest level of granularity. So the years separated as discrete labels is the most common. One great thing that Tableau does for us is it's going to automatically change from discrete to continuous when we switch from a date part to a date value. I don't have to take that extra step. And we can see that this is true. In our current visualization, we're looking at our discrete date part. If I choose the drop-down arrow on our order date field and I select date value, the second copy of month, Tableau automatically changes the field to green. And if we check, notice that continuous is selected. Maybe I'm building a visualization and I already know what level of my date hierarchy I want to show. Maybe I know that I want to show quarterly sales over time. We've got this awesome trick inside of Tableau that saves a ton of time with our right-click drag. On a new worksheet, if I place my mouse over the order date field in the dimension section of the data window and I hold down my right mouse button instead of the left mouse button, I can right-click and drag order date over to columns, and this awesome dialog box pops up showing us all of our discrete date parts and our continuous date values. I want to show information over time at the quarterly level, so I choose the second copy of quarter, our continuous date value. If you know that you always want to treat your date field as a continuous date value shown on an axis instead of a discrete date part, you can change the default way that Tableau recognizes this field. In the dimension section of the data window, I can choose the drop-down arrow on order date and select convert to continuous. So moving forward in all of my visualizations, Tableau is going to see that date field as an axis instead of a label. In this lesson, we took a look at our discrete date parts and our continuous date values. So now when it comes to your data, you'll be the master of time.